welcome to Caapi Cottage Store Porch. Today we are dealing with the subject of uncivilized and touching the jaguar. The American empire is crumbling, their influence is crumbling all over the world, and China has been stepping into the forefront of determining how global politics and how development will go. Do you have any concerns about China's involvement in how they will shape the future and move the planet? And anything we should watch out for?
That's the book I'm writing now, Tim.
Great.
New Silk Road and the decline of the West and the incline of the East. And I taught at a business school, an MBA program in China. I spoke, as I said, at St. Petersburg, Russia, and then in Kazakhstan at a big economic forum there. I got to know a number of prime ministers of former Soviet countries and Kazakhstan and so forth, and writing about that in the Belt and Road Initiative, the New Silk Road. And it's very interesting. The Belt, which is the land transportation systems and communication systems. So the belt includes Asia, Central Asia, Europe, Russia, and parts of Africa. The road is the sea lanes, which will affect you in the Caribbean and in Latin America and parts of Africa and Australia and New Zealand, the island nations. And China's dealing with those very, very differently. And I won't get into all the detail, but the people in the Belt area, they've had a long history of dealing with China and with other enemies, with other, they've become incredible negotiators, and they've learned to work together during World War I, World War II, the Warsaw Pact, NATO, so on. Whereas places like Latin America, these countries have never worked together since they got independence. And there's a tremendous in Africa, and there's a huge amount of corruption and so forth that goes on. I think that we tend to look at China in the United States as this huge threat, and we ought instead to look at it as an opportunity. Again, it's hitting that wall. That China is really working toward building communication systems and trading systems around the world. And there's an opportunity there. Now, there is a threat. There's no question there's a threat. But when I taught at this business school, and it's ranked among the top 10 in the world by the Financial Times, and it was most of the students there were Chinese communists, members of the Communist Party. They were people being groomed for the leadership position. And they would tell me that, they'd say, we in China created a miracle. The only country in the history of the world, as far as we know, that's had double-digit economic growth for more than 30 years. It's slowing down now, but they still recovered very quickly from the coronavirus. And they'd say, but it came at a horrible cost environmentally and socially. These young people in this business school, future leaders, said, but we've proven we can create a miracle, and now we are going to create a miracle of green. We're going to become the greenest country on the planet. Now, will they do that? I don't know, but I do believe that they were sincere. They were terribly concerned about the pollution problems in China. They felt them. They've seen them day to day. They experience them. They want to have kids and grandchildren. They don't want them to suffer through this. So I think there's a real opportunity here to come together. There also, of course, is a threat. I mean, what China is doing in Hong Kong and in the South China Sea, and what they've done in Tibet and in other places, there's a danger there. Again, I think it requires us all to develop a new perception that we're all living on a very fragile space station. And none of this should be about race, culture, or country, nationalism. What we got to realize is we've all got to come together. And so it's up to people like us, it's especially up to people like you, Michael, your age, and as a communicator, as a filmmaker, and someone who's expressed this interest in making an app that would tell people what they're buying, how it's made. And so I think it's a great idea, incidentally, but I also think devoting yourself to films is important. It's up to us to really try to forge bridges and to recognize that whatever we want to think about China, It is taking over. There's no question about it. China's winning. They're winning all over Latin America. It's now become the biggest trading partner with Latin America, bigger than the United States. That's just very recent because they've done amazingly good things. They've also done some bad things, but they've also done some good things. And the Latin Americans don't trust the United States for good reason. Um, in the Caribbean, the LAC, the Latin American Caribbean countries as a whole, have very good reasons not to trust the United States. And I talked to some of my friends in powerful positions in Colombia and Guatemala and Ecuador, and they'll say, "Well, we'd much rather take money from the Chinese than you Americans now because we know that you will locate military bases on our soil, and you have all kinds of conditionalities, and you'll overthrow our presidents or assassinate them." The Chinese have never done any of that. I said, "Don't you think they will in the future?" They say, "Well, we don't know. But what we do know is that the United States does do that. You've proven it." So we're in this fascinating situation, and I think we need to try to understand the opportunities and not just the challenges.
Yeah, but it is difficult to reconcile Chinese capitalism with the Gaian perspective, with Mother Earth, with the spirit of the planet, with the organic shamanic view that we share or want to nurture for the future. It is very difficult to see those two forces working together.
Well, I'm not sure it's any more difficult to see that than our form of capitalism, which I call predatory capitalism in the United States. We have not done well with that. They're what they call is state capitalism, but the state plays a role too, which can have good sides or bad sides. But I think we all need to understand that what it has to be, whether it's state capitalism or predatory capitalism, we need to change that and direct it toward a type of economy that looks at the long-term benefits for people, the nature of the life economy. And that goes to the heart of everything. Doesn't matter what we call it or who's in charge, as long as we keep going for the short term, whether it's China or the United States, we're in trouble. But if we can go for the long term, and the Chinese actually, they have 30-year plans. They are better at long-term plan, a lot better at long-term planning than we are. It's got to be directed toward a sustainable world, a life economy. That's the important part of it.
Yeah. Did you want to comment on that, man?
I was having a talk actually yesterday with a friend about what what China's sort of involvement throughout the world is going to look like, and he was making a point that he thinks that the sort of empire that America had, that is the last of those, and that China won't be able to fully replace America in that sense of building an empire, but that now as the United States power declines, it will still remain a power, and that you'll more have sort of these spheres of influence from China and Russia and the United States and whatever, Brazil and what other ever large sort of countries and states emerge, and that there will actually, he was saying that there'll be a good amount of benefits to reap, especially for countries like ours that are non-committal to any of these powers, because again we've been ruled over by one or the other. We're not super invested in one or the other. We're interested to see, as they battle it out, what can we sort of get out of it on the fringes. So that was just an interesting thought.
That's very important, I think, because during the Cold War, if the United States put too much pressure, if we economic hitmen like I put too much pressure on Dominica or Ecuador or Colombia or wherever, you guys could turn to Soviet Union.
Right.
And leverage it. So then you'd probably get a better deal from us than you would have otherwise. After the demise of the Soviet Union, that went away, and the United States became the sole superpower. And we abused that position. We could have done good things with it, but we abused it. And now China comes along, and as you're very much pointing out, that they're offering another alternative. So it gives countries like yours a little more leverage. And of course, there's Russia in there, which knows it doesn't have the power that either of these two countries has, but Putin has a lot of power in the world, of one sort or another. For one thing, if everybody listens when he speaks, and he's trying to, he's trying to keep the two conflicting with each other. And then you get India coming along. You mentioned Brazil, and yeah, we're at a very fascinating time. And China has always based its expansion on trade, not conquest, except in its own very tiny realm of the world. Well, not so tiny, its own realm of the world, the South China Sea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Tibet, and so forth. But other than that, it's been about trade. It's been about Silk Roads. It's been about trade, and I think that's the way they're moving now too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. This has been wonderful. Did you want to say anything? I understand you have a webinar coming up in the next week or so that you're doing.
Beginning March 2nd. Thank you. Yeah, it's a 5-part webinar once a week for, what is it, an hour, I think, beginning March 2nd. People can find it on my website, johnperkins.org, as well as lots of other things. And it's all about basically, how we look at times of crisis, like the pandemic, as opportunities, as how we use them to prosper and have fun. That's another one. It's really important to have fun. I can't tell you how many people I've known in my life who devoted themselves to some cause they believed in and burned out because they were doing it in a way that wasn't fun for them. And there's always tediousness. I mean, I love to write, but there's aspects of it I know, and I got to do some nitty gritty editing that I don't really want to do. I got to discipline myself to do it. But I love the overall process, and I think it's important that we have fun. Michael, I somehow you had fun with that hurricane.
Yeah, right.
It was terrifying, but the adrenaline was flowing, and look what it gave you, and yeah.
Yeah.
As a filmmaker, that's great. And Tim, you have fun doing what you do here. I know you do. So
try and keep the learning going.
Keep up your great work, both of you. I love what you do. I love you and hope to see you in person.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.